Greetings, everyone. This is Derek Robinson. Today we have a very special program which is being brought to you by the combined efforts of several targeted individual organizations. We have gathered together individuals and organizations across the nation and the globe as we seek to raise awareness and sound the alarm regarding the issues of organized stalking and electronic harassment. Our special guests today are NSA whistleblowers William Binney and Kirk Wiebe, who along with Cait and Karla Smith are launching a worldwide targeted individual survey designed to produce a detailed statistical analysis of our targeting and our community. And at this time, Ella Felder will introduce our guests.
We are more than honored to have American heroes with us for this momentous occasion. William Binney and Kirk Weibe are here as advisors and analysts for the Global Targeted Individual Survey created by both Karla Smith and Cait alongside Mr. Binney and Mr. Wiebe. Here's a little history on the two men that are joining us today. Mr. Binney and Mr. Wiebe worked at the NSA for over 30 years. William Binney is the former NSA crypto mathematician, and Kirk Weibe is former NSA senior analyst. Both worked in signals intelligence, specifically SARC, Signals Intelligence Automation Research Center. Mr. Wiebe is senior analyst and recipient of the Merit of Civilian Service Award, and Mr. Binney is technical director of the World Geopolitical and Military Analysis Reporting Group. Mr. Binney developed a revolutionary information processing system called ThinThread that arguably could have detected and prevented the 9/11 terrorist attacks, but NSA ignored the program in favor of Trailblazer, a program that not only ended in failure but cost taxpayers billions of dollars. Not to mention the fact that ThinThread had an anonymizing feature to ensure Fourth Amendment protections for the communications of U.S. citizens. Concerned over national security, Binney and Wiebe blew the whistle on the mismanagement over Trailblazer, using internal channels to share their concerns with Congress and the Defense Inspector General. Despite their efforts, no one was held accountable at NSA for one of the worst intelligence failures in history. Little did they know at the time, Binney and Wiebe would face harsh retaliation. In the end of the long ordeal, no charges were ever filed against them, and in early 2010, the Department of Justice issued letters of immunity to our honorable advisors. How they came to find us. The first World Covert Harassment Conference, which Cait invited Bill to, took place in the autumn of 2014, and William Binney was a featured speaker on a different topic. This is where he met Magnus Olson, and he discovered in further detail the program which many of us have been placed into. They are also the subject of a recently released documentary, A Good American. They appeared in Oliver Stone's acclaimed film Snowden and in the Oscar award-winning documentary based on Snowden titled 4, as well as many other documentaries. Today, these two men work tirelessly at bringing to light the violation of protections of personal freedoms that have occurred both in the United States and the European Union. Most importantly to our community, they are trying to bring to light one of the most atrocious crimes of the century. And for that, we thank you. Welcome, Bill and Kirk. It's such an honor to have you back under the circumstances that have brought you here. How are you guys?
Well, thanks for the complimentary statements there. Yes. I'm fine.
Thank you so much for hosting this, Derek and Ella, and welcome to all those who have joined us today.
Well, we're happy to have you here again. I would like to be clear that this podcast is specifically for the moderators and organizational leaders around the world, so please respect that request. First, we'll be allowing the moderators to ask questions. If you're a moderator, please star 6 at this time.
Okay. Ella, are you going to ask more questions, or should I start?
Go ahead and ask a question.
Okay. First question is for Bill and Kirk. First of all, I want to say thanks so much for being here today and for working with us on this issue. Appreciate that. So I guess per Kirk's request, we're going to start with Bill. Can you tell us about the survey?
Well, the survey is intended to first collect data on individuals who are experiencing what appears to be some kind of radiation effects, so in different spectrum. And so we're trying to collect the symptoms that people have, then also collect data on open source published information about different kinds of radiation being used for population control and riot control and things like that, and governmental experiments, and then map those to the symptoms that are resulting from those devices, and then also map those back to people and their experiences as we've accumulated in the survey. And then we'll try to put together different kinds of devices that could help detect those kinds of signals so that people can actually begin to trace them and begin to assemble evidence and target the origin of these things so that we can take it into a court of law and have it out in the open.
Okay.
So the whole idea is to add some kind of discipline to the process so that we can actually make concrete statements in courts of law.
Okay, I see. And how long will the survey be available for people to take?
That's up to Cait and Karla. I'm not sure exactly how long they intend to have that done. Cait or Karla, do you want to chime in here?
Okay. Well, they're not on just yet, but we'll find out later about that.
Okay. Derek, this is Kirk. I had suggested, don't know that it's in concrete, but I had suggested that it be 90 to 120 days.
Okay. I think Cait was mentioning 120 days, so but that's fine. We just need to give people an idea of how long they have to sign up for it.
Right.
Okay. Now, will the survey be strictly for targeted individuals, or will the non-targeted population also be taking the survey?
I would suggest that it be anyone who believes they are being targeted in some way by directed energy weapons of some sort, whether they be in the audio spectrum or in the RF spectrum, either way.
Okay. Also, I was wondering, are there people that in your circle of association that you would kind of present the survey to as well? Or this will
I think we would certainly want to present it to people who are would have some kind of influence in the courts of law. So we're legal advisors, things like that. Is that what you mean?
I guess what I'm trying to say here is that one of the things we'd like to see happen is that the survey be made available to as many in the general public as well as in the targeted community. So maybe we can talk about some ways that could happen. I was just wondering about the efficacy of maybe having a control group, people that are like not targeted, and compare their experience with those that are targeted. Would that be of importance here?
Well, yeah. Eventually, I think that would be. Mean about making the survey available to people all around, and not just individuals who feel they are targeted. But sure, yeah. I mean, you could do that. I mean, I don't. I think once we get the outline of the symptoms and mapping symptoms to devices and the symptoms from those devices back and forth, and then showing and suggesting devices that could be used to, in fact, detect these kinds of emission and also locate them too. That's important too. Then I think at that point it might be meaningful for everybody to look at and see if they're experiencing those kinds of things too. Keep in mind, some of this can also be environmentally induced. If you're near high tension lines or things like that, or microwave towers or things like that, that can also do that kind of thing. So we need to, but we should be able to separate that from any kind of targeting activities. So I think, if you're near, for example, if you're near a microwave tower, that should be a constant thing with no break. Things like that, we could try to use that kind of analysis to separate the environmental stuff.
Right. Well, what I was thinking about was that once somebody gets to the court arena, they'll want to be able to say, well, this is how our population is affected versus the general population and how these directed energy weapons are affecting our health more severely, say, than the general population. So that comparison, I think, would factor in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah. Okay.
One thing I was wondering about is your collaboration with Edward Snowden. Are you in contact with him at all? You and Kirk?
No, I've never had direct contact with Edward. I mean, I've been in conferences with him where he's Skyped in, but never really had direct contact with him. No.
Same for me, Derek.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is that one of the questions in our community is that since he had access to over 1 million documents that he acquired from NSA, would our situation be reflected in some of those documents? That's kind of a question in the community, and I thought, well, maybe you guys would have some idea if there were some government documents that reflect this program.
I would think so, but I really would think it's more likely that CIA is involved in this than NSA. Just my guess at that, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. I was just wondering, what about Glenn Greenwald or Thomas Drake? Are you guys in touch with them?
With Tom, yes. We talk to Tom quite regularly.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they will be able to interact with us at some point to kind of raise the profile of our issues, and that would be great.
Well, I think it's going to be, once we have the survey put together and the following studies and related studies and mapping, then it should be easier for people to be able to realize what is potentially happening, and also be able to have a little more confidence in participating. I think that's the problem that we're experiencing now.
Right. Well, once the survey, once that becomes public, and more people become aware of it, they will realize what's at stake for them. This is something that everyone has a stake in. All of humanity, actually. So
yes, that's right.
So that's what we're trying to raise as much awareness as possible, because everyone on the planet is potentially, can be affected by this weaponry we're trying to convey to our general public. Okay, that's about all the questions that I have. Ella, if you have moderators that want to speak at this time.
Sure, and I guess my question was, answered, so I don't really have any questions at this point. So what I'm going to need you to do is do the unmuting, Derek, because I'm having some inability to actually get to people. So can we unmute Paulo from the United Kingdom?
Okay, I think Paulo is unmuted. Paulo, are you there? Okay. Ella, are you unmuted?
I'm unmuted, thank you.
Okay, Paulo's line is open. I don't hear him, though.
How about we just mute him and go into the next person, we can come back to him. Maybe he's having an issue with his microphone. Okay, again, only if you're a moderator, please *6. Okay, let's try, let's go down to the 916 number.
Hi, thank you very much for the survey. I kind of came in a little late, but I hope I'm not asking kind of redundant question. But would this survey would have a kind of would you be able to have an estimated number of victims, say like 0.5% of the population are the victims of organized torture? some kind, because that kind of figure is very important for legislation, because this survey of this kind will be very helpful to realize legislation against organized torture. Yeah, that's one first question. Second question is, this is the kind of secondary question, but certain class of people are more susceptible to the victimization of this kind. And I suspect that, for example, the child abuse survivors might be more susceptible because of the lack of ability to protect oneself or lack of ability to detect the danger. And also, according to Colin Roth's study, intelligence agencies usually target mentally ill people and then homeless people and I guess prostitutes for human exploitation in the past. So I was wondering if there are certain targeted class of people and that you might, if you could ask a question like that, that might be helpful. Yeah. So and also the third one is not related to survey, but I would be grateful if you could continue to speak to the media about this issue, because victims are not really, we do not have access to media or receive media coverage in general. So thanks.
Yes. Yes to your first question. You had asked about whether or not we believe this is some form of organized torture. It is certainly organized. It may not be thought of as torture, but certainly the symptoms that many feel appear to be tortuous. So yes, that's part of the investigation. We know the government has the authority to conduct experiments, specifically under the Department of Defense. We know that other parts of the government will often, under the blanket of secrecy, take it upon themselves to experiment and not tell anyone. So we're very open-minded. Much of this is dependent not on your opinions, but on the facts that you bring to bear. What it is each of you actually experiences, and describing that to the best of your ability. Now, on number two, does the government target the mentally ill? To be honest with you, Bill and I are viewing this as we're very open-minded. We don't have any predisposed positions on any of these things. We do not wish to bias the survey. So if that's what the results show, that there are people who have been diagnosed mentally ill and are being targeted, the data should tell us that. If people are filling out these surveys honestly as they can, we should detect that in the data. So we're not against that notion, and we're not pro that notion. I will accept your premise that it seems to be common, and I would even say it makes some sense the government would pick on those disadvantaged people, although it makes me angry to recognize it. Number three, on the media, yes, our intent is to publicize the findings of the results to gain credibility amongst the media. Right now, we're hearing the media don't give this community much credibility, and we hope to make a difference, at least with some of the media that we actually know and have good credibility with. We hope to open that door even wider and show that we are bringing objectively obtained data to bear on this issue. Okay, back to you, Ella and Derek.
Thank you for answering that question. Really appreciate it. So I guess at this point, why don't we open the floor to Frank?
Hi, this is to William Binney, Kirk Wiebe, Cait Ryan, and Karla Smith, and ladies and gentlemen. My concern is for the media that all the names and all the data are stored on. Where is this data going to be stored? On an active computer or in a vault?
Bill, do you want me to answer?
Well, I think it's Karla will be managing that. I'm not. I haven't been tuned into that part of what she's doing, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be held offline and not air gapped from the network.
May I make a recommendation?
Karla is a better one to answer that one for sure.
Okay. May I make a recommendation?
Absolutely.
Sure. Every time, we'll say maybe once a month, a serious edit has been made. In other words, people have joined, you've correlated information, and it's all on this drive, we'll say. Why don't you do an ISO backup, which is actually a flawless picture of the drive, which I'm sure you know all about. It will take probably, 9 or 10 DVDs, and you can label those and actually go back to those, to that area exactly in time if you should need to. And it gives you a snapshot of the whole drive. Therefore, no information will be lost. Now, I just wanted to offer that.
No, I think that's a smart suggestion, and in fact, that may be what Karla's going to do. I knew she was going to back up this data and keep it offline for storage and safety and have more than one copy amongst us so that it doesn't get destroyed or mishandled should something happen to one of us. No single points of failure. And I like the ISO idea.
Yeah, it's a snapshot, and a copy should be distributed, hand-delivered to Cait, Karla. It should be wrapped and tucked away in possibly a bank vault that they have access to. Another thing that's bad about a hard drive can go down, not so much the motor, but the read and write arms can actually become destroyed. So if it's on an ISO disk, we'll say, which is obviously going to be DVDs, that is never, ever going to be messed with. You can't screw with it. Perps can't get at it. Perps can get at a drive. They can't get at an ISO image. But I thank you very much for your time, and I want to thank all those who have participated and put this survey together. I'm going to encourage it with everyone I know to get some people to sign it immediately. And I do appreciate the great amount of time that everyone has spent on it. Bill, Kirk, Cait, Karla. I'm sure there's other people that have helped out too, and I just want to thank them all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Okay, guys, a little reminder, let's keep the questions on the short side, just for time constraints. So let's go, Derek, to 386. I believe that's our Neil.
Okay, well, 516 is unmuted, so go ahead with your question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not a moderator, so I won't. I didn't get that part initially, so I won't. I'll give this time to someone else if needed.
Well, thanks, Rochelle.
Okay, thank you. I got my survey, and I'm anxious to get it done.
Well, thank you for participating in that survey. It's very important. Everyone that we know that's a TI, if they can do this survey, it will just help.
Okay, I guess we'll go to Ramola next.
Oh, hi, Derek. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Ramola. For the call.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, just fine.
Yes.
Perfectly fine.
Okay, brilliant. Well, first I just want to say thank you to Cait and Karla for setting up the survey. Thanks for doing all the hard work for all of us. And, of course, I want to thank Bill and Kirk for coming forward to be at the forefront and be at the head of the survey. So the first question I had was, when you get the results of the survey, is there going to be a screener for the data before you get it, Bill and Kirk? And if so, what are the criteria for that screening, if there is going to be a screener? Or will you get the information directly? Will you get the survey directly and all of the information?
We plan on looking at the files that Karla and Cait prepare for the data, and then looking at it and analyzing the data. And if we see something that would suggest we need to rearrange the data or shuffle it around, look at it from different perspectives, then we'll certainly have to do that. Looking at, when you compile data like this in a data analysis approach, you have to look at it in any number of ways sometimes to figure out what is the best way to look at it, so you can see the patterns and underlying structure of the data that's related.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through several iterations of that. So there will be some iterative process. I don't know that I'd call it what you were calling it, but
I use the word screening, but whatever, however you do it.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at it in many different ways. In other words, to try to figure out how can we arrange the data so we can see underlying patterns that are meaningful and reliably demonstrated by the data. So that's the trick to data analysis, and so that's what we'll be doing.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. No, that's great to know. So basically, the information will be sent to Cait and Karla, and they're going to compile it in some form. You get it, and of course, you're going to, as you said, change the patterns around as you need to. All right.
Yeah, if necessary. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Kirk. If I can just add, we have no plans to pre-screen. We are treating each survey equally. So we're not going to bias the question up front by screening based on some criteria of geography or whatever. We're going to let the data tell us everything it possibly can.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, that perfectly answers my question. So I have another question, and I'm sort of in a rush. I have to get out of here very soon, so I'm talking fast. Sorry. Why is it called a symptom survey, given that all of us are being hit with, EMF weapon energies, and these energies are sort of impacting on us as signals in our bodies, and we can measure them with meters, and we can actually block them as well. So why is it called a symptom survey?
It's just it's the idea that people are experiencing things, and we wanted to capture that from everyone, from a wide audience of people. So some people would not necessarily call it symptoms. Some might call it something else, but we picked a word, okay?
Okay.
You can basically think of it any way you want, but it's the things that are affecting you, with the effects you're experiencing. And we're trying to capture that, and we called it symptoms. Okay.
I see. So it wasn't sort of a distinct word choice; it was a word for use. In other words, is what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So because a lot of us think, well, this is a criminal issue; it's a human rights issue. We're being assaulted.
Yes, right. It's human rights that are being destroyed here.
Yeah. Okay, that answers my question. So basically, you just want to capture effects on the body. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So for now, I think those are my sort of primary questions. Thanks so much for answering them.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amola.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ella, are there moderators that you would like to ask questions?
Yeah, but why don't we bring Neil Chetier in? I see him, he's the 386 number.
Okay.
Hi, Bill, Kirk, Derek, Ella, Cait,
hello,
Karla.
Hi, Neil. Welcome to the call.
Hi. Well, my angle is just to let you know, back when we were doing the FFCHS group, there was a lot of confusion about the symptoms versus the variety of delivery systems. So I put together a group of R&D techs and engineers We created a document called Invasive Applications with about 35 different delivery systems that either had a potential to be used or we had information to show that they are being used. So I guess what I have to add to this is that data, and also I put together a detection equipment list of the best detection equipment for the price, and a frequency list, which is a variety of information all the way from Barry Trower.
Yeah. That would be great.
Barry
That would
Trower.
give us a really big jump start on it. Yeah.
If
sounds
you
like
could please.
Sounds like you've already been doing a lot of work in this area, so that's great.
Yeah,
please share that data.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I run a Sunday night call for Citizens Against Harmful Technology, and after FFCHS split up, Derek started PAX and we started Cait. So we just continued on, and I would love to see the work in the 400 hours of R&D calls go into something valuable. And as far as proof of information, being able to use core net meters from $100 and something to $230. You can measure milligauss, microtesla, decibels. You get a digital readout, and you also get a graph that shows pulsing. Using that meter, things like one day I was in the bathroom, unplugging a bathroom sink on the opposite end of the house, and looked up in the mirror and noticed the right side of my face was cherry red. So I grabbed the core net meter, started walking around, didn't find anything coming off the microwave pulse water meter down in the, where the meter is in the ground. So I went over to the smart meter and got a measurement at one specific spot on it of 235 milligauss, which is 75 times above legal limit. And apparently there is information about the whole smart grid network, which you will find a lot of that information on our website, which is citizensaht.org. On that and medical body area network implants being interfaced with smartphones. But definitely the smart meters, the cell towers, the hookup with remote neural monitoring through the cell towers. We don't really have a whole lot on satellite, but our web builder, the owner of Cait, is Skizit Powers, is the name that she uses. She has extensive information on just about everything but satellites. I'd say we haven't really covered that topic well as far as the interface, but it'll help to paint the picture, so at your service.
Wonderful. Can you please make sure Karla and Cait have your contact information so we can obtain what you guys have already learned?
Yeah, no, you're welcome to take my email. Is electricrose, like the flower, 22 at Yahoo.
Electricrose 22 at Yahoo.
Yeah,
got it.
And,
Thank you, sir.
And I'll just send you the invasive applications, the frequency list, which is also showing some of the information that Melinda Kidder uses when you find these using a spectrum analyzer, that it's actually licensed by FCC to certain companies or satellites. So it gives you some cross-referencing information. And then I put together an info pack on the invasive applications document that's not completed, but the idea was to research each of the harmful systems that are being used and then write a summary on each one. So you'll be able to use some of that info too.
Great. And what's your name again?
I'm Neil Chevrier.
You're going to have to help me with your last name spelling.
Sure. It's Neal, and the last name is like Chevrolet, CHEV as in Victor, RIER.
Chevrier.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Thank you, Neil.
All right, you're welcome. Good luck with everything. Thanks for helping us.
Okay, so at this point,
Ramona would like to ask a question, Ella.
Sure.
She has a quick question for them.
Of course.
Okay, Ramona, you're unmuted.
Yes, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes,
sorry. Thank you. So one last question before I go. It just struck me. Are Bill and Kirk still taking information and documentation from people? Are you still looking for military documentation that you'd like us to send your way?
Oh, sure.
Yes. Oh, sure. Anything that shows factual research into potential sources of radiation are welcome. That's information, and that's valuable for us.
Okay, brilliant. I needed to ask that because this is the sort of stuff that I collect all the time as I work on my articles, and I constantly compile info on my website, but I'd be happy to send you links. I'd be happy to send you PDFs, as I work as well.
Outstanding.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I'll do that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Ramona. Okay, Ella, did you have someone else in mind?
I believe on page 11 of the list of people, Flawek from Poland is here, and I think he'd be wonderful to bring on. So if you are leaders of an organization, yes, he's on page 11, if you can unmute him because he's calling in from a computer.
Okay.
Because of the Polish movement, I think it's really important to have his organization be able to ask a question. And then we can go back to Q&A list. Actually, I think I can do it myself. You'll just have to unmute them. Here we go. I'll do it. Hello.
Hello, Ella.
Hello. It's good to hear you.
Yes, it's a great conference. I'm happy to participate in it. If I can ask a question, there is one we wondering. Does this survey and this report of William and Kirk will have some information about situation in European countries? Does it have some info how this technology, strategy, politics involve European countries?
I believe we are getting inputs from different people in Europe. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Do you consider many other countries than US only, but European countries?
Oh, yes. Absolutely, we do. Yes.
Right. That's what we're waiting
for.
Because we will have to use your survey.
Yeah, I think we already have inputs from a number of countries in Europe already. Karla and Cait would know the statistics on that, though.
Okay. We'll be waiting for this survey very much. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, it looks like Eduardo has returned. Yeah. And I guess we can let him finish his question. Eduardo, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I talk a lot, and it's a byproduct of the targeting. I'm just going to keep it simple. It's I was asking you if you have investigated the confusion tactics that are used in electronic harassment to make TIs mainly believe that they are under organized stalking as opposed to just strictly electronic harassment.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is Kirk. Our survey is constructed so as to obtain evidence or at least symptoms pointing to exactly that kind of technique. If people are writing their words carefully to make sure that they express what they're sensing, I have a sense that people who feel confusion will recognize it, maybe wonder why they're so confused, and be able to express that in the survey. So my point is the survey is not biased in any way to exclude any possibility. The way we've constructed it is not to force people to choose multiple choice, which restricts responses, but to actually use free expression where people could, in text entry boxes, where people can describe precisely what it is they have symptoms of.
Right.
So we are looking for that, yes.
Okay, thanks, Eduardo.
Okay, so I know that 802 has been holding for a while, so let's unmute her.
Okay.
Him.
Oh, hi, Ella. This is Karla. So I'm sorry, I don't even remember what the questions were. I was just going to answer questions if there were some. I think
okay,
they've covered an answer by now, though.
Okay. Thank you, Karla. Okay, so let's go to 916.
Hi, this is Toma again. Thank you. I think my first question wasn't really clear, so just to clarify, when I talk to the legislature, say California legislature, I have talked to the legislative staffers usually ask this question. This is the first question they ask. So how many victims are there? So I was wondering if the survey will be able to have an estimated number of victims, meaning will you be able to figure out that number? And say statewide, either each state or at least nationwide. That would be very useful for to realize legislation against this kind of targeting.
Oh yes, this is Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will produce all those kinds of statistics. We're going to protect privacy, but as far as bulk statistics on who responded by geographical area, maybe by state, by country, how many, within those, how many experienced this kind of symptom or that kind of symptom. We will break that down statistically every way we can that makes sense. So, yes, those numbers will certainly be available.
Well,
Okay,
thank you, Toma, for your question. Go ahead.
I think her question was, and this is something that we in the community have been wondering about for quite a while, and I don't believe the survey would actually be able to solve this one, but basically we're looking for actual numbers in the population percentages, something that's difficult for us to find exactly. There are estimates, but probably when we get to the point of a general survey for the general population, will those numbers materialize that we're kind of looking for, to be able to cite that we are 10% of the population, 6% of the population, or whatever. That number is kind of elusive at the moment, but we would like to find it out somehow.
Well, I think what we could do is talk about distribution or clustering of these kinds of events and the experience that the people are having and how they cluster, which wouldn't. I mean, anything we try to do is project to the greater audiences. I mean that's all speculation. I mean, we'd have to have some sampling that would of all the areas really to see what the distribution would be or potential distribution would be to even begin to estimate a total number, you know.
Right.
We're kind of dependent on the people to respond. Those that do, we could look at how it clusters and see if there's any pattern to the clustering. And if there is, then it shouldn't be a nationwide thing or a country worldwide thing. It may be very clustered, and because how else could you control the if you're running an experiment, how else could you control it unless you had it focused or in some way limited, you know?
Well, the surveys that we have, surveys we've done so far have produced some numbers that show clustering, for instance, in Southern California.
Yeah.
And in the major states like Texas and New York and Florida, there are clusters there, major populations of TIs. Most of them seem to be clustered in greatest numbers in Southern California, which is actually corresponds to the largest number of military-industrial complex-related industries in the U.S. in Los Angeles County. So there's a cluster right there of those types of industries, which kind of corresponds to the greatest number of TIs. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah, well, we need to see that kind of pattern showing up across the country or in other countries too. So if we do, then that's certainly a tie we could make there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, more questions?
Let's go to 951. And let's just ask one question each, guys. One question each is all we have time for.
Okay, we just did him, so how about 207?
Let's do 207.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can.
All right. You know, I just wanted to say this. As opposed to people being targeted in clusters in big cities and in big states, I have lived in rural Maine where the population has been less than 5,000, and the targeting was relentless and brutal and every day, 24/7, 365, as they say. So I just wanted to put that in, that it may be true that it's in large cities and big states and so forth, but it's also unbelievable in small rural towns also. So that's all I wanted to say. Mr. Binney, Mr. Weibe, thank you so much for helping us. I appreciate it immensely, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, if you're a moderator or a group leader, please go ahead and star 6. We just have a few moments, so, I know that Elizabeth Smithy, I think she's on page 9. She represents France. If you maybe want to get to her and we can unmute her. I think she's calling by computer as well, so she's not able to star 6.
If you see her, can you unmute her?
Sure, I'll do that right now. She may have dropped off. Maybe not. Elizabeth, are you there?
Okay, we have a 262 that has a question, and while you're searching for that one.
Okay, she might have dropped off. So.
Hi, this is Debbie in Wisconsin.
Hi, Debbie.
Ella.
Hi.
I wanted to ask a question. Do the gentlemen and do Karla and Cait realize that that law enforcement is giving research waivers from the FCC to do research on radar devices which see through walls, and also they have, through the 1033 program, they have military weapons. So law enforcement is everywhere, and if they're receiving research waivers to do research on these devices, that's another, they're everywhere. So, and the woman before I spoke said she's in a rural area. Well, there's sheriff's departments in your area. And also the clusters are usually, I did a map many years ago of all the people in my state, and we were all located around university and university extensions. So that's something that I did a while ago. I wanted to know if they gave that any thought.
No, but that's the kind of clustering we try to understand as to where it's happening and what the implications might be. But the other thing is, if they're handing out all these research grants, then those research grants have to be compiled somewhere and available for public viewing. So we ought to be able to see some information from Freedom of Information, for example.
I did get that from Freedom of Information, and through research on the internet, we did find letters written to the DOJ from the FCC giving them waivers to do research.
Yeah, but they also ought to have the distribution of money to the different individuals doing the research and where they are.
That I did not find.
They should have that. That's got to be a record. You can't just hand out money like that without having a trace on where the money went and who got it and how they spent it.
Right.
So we ought to be able to try to do that.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for what you're doing for us. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
And I believe Cait's trying to convey to me that the Department of Justice is refusing to sign onto the common rule for the first time. So she just wanted me to add that in there. Okay, so we'll go on to the next question. Let's go to 253. And quickly, Roseanne Schneider. Roseanne Schneider, if you're on the call, if you can star 6, we'll bring you in.
Yes, hi, this is James Lico. Hi, Bill and Kurt. I just wanted to see if you were aware that some of the pains and afflictions that TIs get are mimic injuries or afflictions like old age or some kind of different things like that, and also diseases. Some diseases are fibromyalgia, and recently I've gotten MS, multiple sclerosis symptoms. They're where I was unable to walk. It seems to me that they shorted out my spinal cord down at the base of my spine. I had a red circle about 2 inches in diameter, and they can make it so that I was hunching over. My stomach muscles and leg muscles were getting very tired, as if I had walked, maybe, 10 miles or maybe 20 miles. And I was put on the ground a couple of times, many times actually, over the space of a couple of days. It seemed like my leg muscles just gave out, and I had to sit down on the ground to supposedly rest, but they would turn off the power. So this mimicked multiple sclerosis, I guess. And the things that what I'm seeing is that a doctor would probably mistake these for real symptoms, because what else are they going to do? And they would, give a diagnosis of, whatever it was, fibromyalgia or anything. So I just, and the key thing I want to point out here is that TIs, they want TIs to know what's going on. They want TIs to know they're being tortured. So we know when these people come in and do this to us, we know they're doing it with electromagnetic energy. However, they do it. We can tell that also that they do it as though they are.
Do you have a question about the survey?
My question was, do you know that this is going on? And when I get to the end, that'll be the question. So what they do is try to mimic these diseases, and you can tell they're doing it, and they want TIs to know that they're being tortured, but TIs can tell what is happening and, that it's kind of mimicking something else. They're always hurting my hands, for instance. And so what's going on here is that people that are not TIs are having these injuries induced. This is my theory. And they don't know what's going on, and they're not expert at telling whether they're being hit with electromagnetic energy. So I'm thinking there's many, many, many of these. And do you know of these? Do you know, have you heard of this?
I personally have not heard of that, no.
Okay.
No, I have not heard of it either, but I would tell you that Bill and I and those of us assisting in studying the data that comes in from the survey have no closed minds. We are open to any possibility. We are generally aware that symptoms that people feel may be in people's minds written off as, well, I just have MS or I have this or that, but may actually have been induced by some outside source, some energy interfering with the nervous system or whatever it may be. We're generally, what I'm trying to say is we're very open-minded to consider all of those capabilities, and it may well be that there are some symptoms that we are unable to explain, and mark them down as requires further study, or maybe a secondary survey that looks to those particular kinds of symptoms to see if we can zero in, focus in, and gain understanding. That's all I can say about that right now.
All right. Well, yeah, that was my point, that you should be looking at the general public who are not TIs and don't know anything about it. They're being, my theory is that they're being induced with things that will, anything from minor disabilities to major disabilities. And so that was all I wanted to say. And may I give you my website?
Sure. Why don't you to Cait? Okay, go ahead.
Look, jameslico.com, JAMESLICO.com. And that's all. I'll just stand by and listen.
Thank you, James.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you can go to 707, that's Roseanne Schneider. She's a lead activist in the community.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, hello, Kirk and Bill and Derek and Ella and all the rest of you working on this. Thank you so much for doing this. I think your approach is excellent. I am concerned about sabotage, and because everything we've tried to do as a group has been sabotaged. And I want to urge you all to keep a running log of difficulties which you encounter with data, with transmission of data, with computers malfunctioning, strange surveys that you get that don't fit the profile that you're seeing. Just based on the experience of the last 10 years, this has been a major component of anything we try to do. Secondly, there's, I'm not sure if you're aware of David Boyce, he's a graduate of a Naval Academy. He was working on electronic warfare. And he found out about this experimentation and went on to try to publicize it by walking across the country. Now, he referred to part of this program as perception management. So I have not looked at this survey yet. I don't know if this is strictly physical symptoms that you're collecting data about, or if you're also asking for theory, like what do you think is happening to you and who do you think is involved. But I have to add to Eduardo's statement that it does appear that perception management is a part of the protocol, in that people are being compromised in a way that they might be interpreting the events in their lives as, incorrectly. So, and this could indeed be a part of the program. So when you're looking at the data, this might be, something that you're able to see. And I just wanted to back that up because I think Eduardo had an excellent point about that. TIs are made to believe that their neighbors are attacking them and this is happening and that's happening. Whether this is true or not is up for discussion. Because if the programs involving perception management, then, that's going to be taken as another symptom. Okay. Anyways, I think your approach is excellent. I pray for the success of this. I look forward to seeing the results. I think we all do. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This is, you're true heroes to step up to the plate and help us with this.
Can I just add here that, Kirk and I are fairly familiar with the different techniques to manipulate and confuse enemies, if you will. I mean, in terms of the old Soviet Union, they used to call it manipulatia and disinformatia. It's a way of manipulating information, manipulating people, giving in disinformation, and those kinds of techniques were we have been experienced in detecting. So hopefully we'll see that through on all this data and be able to pick that out and also define it as a property of the entire program. Clearly.
You're the perfect people for this job. I mean, I couldn't be more pleased with that response, and thank you so much for taking this on.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Let me just add a comment. I had hoped for an opportunity to say to those who are listening to this phone call, please be aware if anyone tries to convince you not to take the survey. Be very leery of anyone trying to talk you into the idea that we are untrustworthy in some regard or the survey is flawed. As prima facie evidence of someone trying to sabotage our success. I don't know how else to say it. Bill and I had to come to grips with the idea that, or the challenge, how to know who we could trust when we blew the whistle. And we clearly discounted anyone who tried to dissuade us from blowing the whistle on wrongdoing. And so I just caution you, if anyone tries to talk you out of taking it, they should be high on your list of being suspicious for such a person. So please do fill it out. We are going to guard this information with our lives and treat it scientifically, objectively, for the benefit of all of you. Just wanted to say that, Ella and Derek. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much, Kirk. We do have Paulo. Paulo, you there?
He'll be our last question.
Okay.
Okay, Paulo? Oh, his line's unmuted. We can't hear him.
Paulo does great work in the UK, and I hope he's able to ask a question.
Well, he says he's still muted. I don't see it. His line is muted anywhere. Well, he's connecting by computer, so he's going to try to call in by phone.
So while we're waiting for him, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Derek. So maybe while we're waiting for him to call in, maybe one quick question. Maybe do 530.
Sure.
Hello?
This is Ed. Ed Spencer.
Oh, hi, Ed. Do you have a question?
Hi.
A question for,
yes, I do. What question is, I understand that scalar waves, which cannot be blocked, are a big part of this V2K and other intrusions into the brain. And I'm wondering how that is dealt with in the questionnaire. And the other, I'll just make a quick statement. I think the torture is not the main issue here. I think mind control, which is hidden is the main issue, and because that's real political power there. And 5G is probably a major aspect of mind control. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Spencer.
Has Paula made it back yet?
I don't know. I'm asking him to let us know when he's here. Okay. In the meantime, we could unmute someone else.
Well, sure. Who's been on there for a while? I know Neil's already asked a question. Let's see here. Let's try. Life phone's no longer there. Let's try 530 at the bottom. And again, if you're a participant who's not a moderator or a leader, if you can just ask to be put back on mute, and we'll get to you after they leave.
Okay. We have someone unmuted. Do you have a question, Jen? Okay. How about Millicent?
Millicent, yes, please have her.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Millicent.
My question is, are there any considerations being given to collecting any data on whether or not the doctors are aware or show any knowledge of what we're dealing with?
Let me take a try at that one. This is Kirk speaking.
Hi, Kirk.
Hi. There's going to be, right now we're focused on getting the survey out and getting it filled out and getting as much coverage as we can in terms of obtaining data. And then digesting the data, trying to spot trends, commonalities, anomalies, all of those kinds of things that data can tell you. And then there'll be a phase two. Okay, now that we have these understandings, what are we going to do with them? And I think approaching the medical community is definitely a must-do on that bucket list of things to do, and a pretty important one. And I hope that some participants in the survey will actually point to physicians who are open-minded as opposed to treating everyone as part of a bell curve and then outliers on the bell curve. The tyranny that we've seen, that all people have seen in one way or another in data analysis. So, yes, that definitely is in the list of things to do.
Yeah. So no, all I wanted to say, I think, is quite wonderful that you are lending your credibility and the fact that you're very much well respected in the world of activism, alternative media, whistleblowing.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill and Kirk,
can you hear me?
Here. Can you go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah. Morton. Yeah, I just wanted to thank Bill and Kirk for for lending the credibility to the fact that they are well respected in the world of alternative media, whistleblowing, activism to our cause. And if I had to ask a question, I would ask possibly if you have already any plan in which way you are going to publish or use the result of the survey, if there is any priority, any agency, any organization, you prioritize in terms of forwarding them the result of the survey. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear all of his question. There was a lot of background noise.
Yeah, I had a hard time hearing that. Yeah.
Okay, Paul, if you could summarize your question in a few words.
Yeah, if you have already a list of organization or agency you prioritize in terms of forwarding the result of the survey to them.
It was still very difficult to hear him. I know he said thank you to them, and then something about a list of organizations.
Yes, it said already in mind some prioritizing some organization or agency which will be first on the list to be contacted with the results. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I understand what he's saying. Paulo is saying, will we have a list of organizations that we will prioritize to inform them of the results of the survey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would think that we would certainly, if we had very clear results. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have lists of people that we want to notify, and say that we have this, and a lot of it would be in the legal community. In my mind, that's where we should go. We should get it into courts of law.
Yeah, and of course we need to distribute the results to those who have taken the survey too. People like Paulo, key people in the network globally need to get a hold of it as well.
Okay, did you hear them, Paulo?
Yeah, clearly, yeah. It was the line was quite better now. Clearly, yeah, I heard quite clearly, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, thanks for your question.
Okay, so that'll be the last question since they are now going 30 minutes over the time they've allotted for us. So I guess I have a final question. I did come up with one during the duration of the call. Will you be posting the results in a general way at any point online, possibly, or on a website?
I believe that we should do that, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. And I also understand that your overall objective is, which is stated in the video that you made with Cait and Karla, is, number one, to go to the press, number two, to approach the medical community, and number three, eventually to go to the political arena. Is that correct?
Yes. Well,
correct.
Yeah. My point is sue the bastards in a court of law.
Yes.
Yeah, for what they're doing.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, that's what should have happened with CIA. In the 50s and 60s, with all the experiments they were doing then on people who didn't even know that they were being experimented on. So I mean, these people belong in jail. They don't belong in government.
Right. Yeah. And do you also believe that there are some criminal elements that are just considered rogue groups that are also doing this to individuals?
Within the government, you mean?
Outside of the government.
I think industry certainly has the potential of being a participant in this, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
it's hard
guys, go ahead.
It's hard to distinguish where the criminals are. It seems like criminality cuts across even government these days.
Yes, definitely government. We're understanding that.
It's certainly the greatest criminal organization in the country, yeah.
Well, in conclusion, we just want to thank you guys so much. And sorry we weren't able to get to everybody. A lot of people queued in towards the end here. And again, we can also email you if you have any questions, people, about this. One of the best ways you can get your questions answered is if you really watch the video that Cait, Ryan, and Karla, and Bill, and Kirk have made. It's a wonderful, very descriptive video on the directions on how to take this global TI survey. And you can email me at tiangel2016@gmail, and I'll forward you the video, this instructional video, as well as you can also more than likely email globaltisurvey@gmail.com, and if they have enough time, they'll be able to respond as well. So we will open up the call once they're no longer on the call. So at that point, I guess we're just going to say thank you to you guys, and we appreciate you so much, and thank you for continuing to do this heroic work and protecting, humanity as a whole. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you. And bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.